Before I get started tying this popper, I just wanted to show you, I placed a little order from Jan's Netcraft up in Ohio. I've got some Mustad and VMC long shank spinnerbait hooks. I've got 1/0, 2/0, and 3/0 in silver, and 2/0 and 3/0 in red. They seem to be really sturdy. They are really good quality and kind of light, which should be good for poppers. And bonus, it came in this awesome Kevlar pouch, which, believe it or not, is a really cool material for fly tying. You can cut this material into little horns, little strips that you could tie in, just cut a V and tie prince nymphs using this material instead of goose biots. This stuff doesn't shred, it doesn't crack, it doesn't come off, so you can at least get the white wing for your prince nymph out of this material. Or if you wanted to mark it up with a brown marker, you could use it for the tail too. Bonus material. So here are the materials for that popper. We're going to go with a nice big 3/0 VMC 7250 NI spinnerbait hook. The tail material is static duster, like from a dollar store. You can get it in lots of different colors. Some accent, a little bit of crystal flash or flashaboo. For filling out the profile, we'll use either some foil-lined duct tape, foam duct tape, or maybe some of this kind of Christmas UV sort of snow tinsel-y stuff. And that is a 5/8 inch foam plug cut from a piece of closed cell flip-flop foam. The body of the popper itself is this Corsair type ribbon that's sold at Hobby Lobby. It's really shiny, really nice stuff, works great. Okay, so I've got some Danville's, is this 140? 210 denier thread. Nice heavy stuff. And start it near the bend of the hook, go on back to the bend, and we'll attach our tail. So I've cut a little hank of this white static duster material. Go ahead and just get that attached. Flash it down pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go a little bit into the bend on that. Kind of measure where I want my tail to end. Cut it. And now for accent, I could have gone with flashaboo or crystal flash. Got some mirage, kind of hard to beat mirage tinsel. Just do a couple of strands down each side. Should be more than enough to get their attention. Just fold it over. Get 2 strands down each side. And there we go. Alright, now to do this Corsair tubing, and of course now I'm going to clip that a little bit longer than the end of my tail. You can see that, a couple little strands there. So now I've taken a piece of this foil lined duct tape with the foam backing and pre-cut it to fit over the tail end of the fly like so. And I've cut a popper head and stuck a bodkin through it that'll fit right over the eye of the hook. It's about 5/8 of an inch long, and it's a 5/8 inch thick popper head, so that backs right up against there, and it kind of fills in the shape of the minnow so that foil shines through the tubing once this is all put together. So I'm going to take this off of here and advance the thread. Actually take the thread back to the bend, and then I'll attach the foam using crazy glue. This foil backed foam is actually a little bit, it's worn out, all the glue is gone on it, but even if this was in good shape, I would probably still use crazy glue to attach it, just to be sure it sticks. So I'm going to come right back here, stick it on that side, take the matching piece, get a little glue on there, right up the middle. I pretty much glued the entire piece. First piece, put it directly opposite and just sandwich the shank of the hook with that foam. Couple of fibers here that need to be trimmed. Not that it really matters that much. I'm going to trim that little piece that's sticking out off of there too. Alright, so that's the back part of the fly. And I do need to put the popper head on, so I probably should have tied off or advanced it like I said in the first place. It's okay, I'll retie in the back. Let me just put a quick whip finish on there to hold it in place. And I'm going to go ahead and lay down a thread base up in the front for that popper head to adhere to. Of course, this could have been done before. Didn't really have to do it in this many steps. Helps to plan these things out, doesn't it? 1, 2, that'll hold. It's just going to give the popper head something to stick to. Put some crazy glue on the thread. Got the crazy glue on the thread. I'll quickly push that into place and let the crazy glue set. Alright. Now, to get that tubing, angle that up a little bit, on, I'm going to reattach my thread at the back. Cut a nice big piece of the tubing and slip it, got to open it wide and slip it over to the back. Now it's going to start to fray at the back. Just gather those in, take a couple loose turns, and cinch down tight. The tail's getting shorter and shorter by the minute. And move it, work it in a little further so I still retain some of that tail. Give it a few good wraps. And I'm going to whip finish over the entire fly. Cinch it down. A couple more. Cinch it down. And then we'll hit it with crazy glue again. I'm not a big fan of crazy glue, but in a situation like this, with this stiff material, where you don't want this to come loose, I don't see any reason not to put a little crazy glue here and there. Now, to make the popping lip on this fly and form the front edge, the real business end that makes the loud noise, we want to reverse the Corsair, push it way back, get it to come all the way back like that. And if I can, I'll scoot the head back a little bit, start my thread up here, and then pull all that Corsair forward, kind of pinch it forward to get it to slick down right up against the foam. And I'm going to work the thread into the tubing some, so I have a little bit of excess hanging over the front. Maybe a little much. I've used a lot of the tubing. That's okay. I want to get this right. I'm going to push this back to where I can get all that tubing tied down to the eye of the hook. I need to jam the head back a little bit. It's not going anywhere. The whole thing's going to be encased in this tubing. This is the tricky part, catching that eye of the hook. There we go. 1, 2. Get all the fibers where they need to be. Now it just looks like a really fat minnow. Make sure that's tied on tight. Pull the fibers back and post them up. All that plastic. And we'll be able to trim that in just a second. Trim some of these out of here, try to get all of this as close as possible. And I think I'm going to do this trimming off camera, so you'll see what it looks like when it's cleaned up in a second. All right, so there's the popper, and I've hit this front wraps with some crazy glue. The next thing to do is just to pull the Corsair tubing tight against the body and forward. And that's what's going to form that nice big cupped popping face on the fly. Once we get UV gel inside here and solidify it with the UV light, that thing's going to make a nice light but solid popping face that makes all sorts of noise. So I've repositioned this to make sure that the popping face is facing the camera, and I want to make sure that it's centered, the eye of the hook is centered in the middle, or even slightly higher. The top of the lip is a little higher up so that the eye of the hook is off center, a little closer to the bottom than the top. I'm going to use some of this UV gel nail polish and just kind of go around the edge of this to get it solid. This stuff doesn't run quite as much as the other UV I have. This is pretty thick stuff. So I just want to get this frozen in place so I can fill in later. Go right along the edge here, all the way around, so it doesn't move after this coating. That should be enough. Hit it with the UV light. Now I got to go find some eyes, and we'll hit it with some thinner UV stuff to really get that head solidified. That's pretty good. Nice and stiff. Alright, I'm in luck. I have been looking for my 3D eyes for the longest time, and I managed to find a pair. So there we go, there's one. Use a little crazy glue on that just to make sure it sticks. And we'll get one on the other side. We have a crazy glue. Give that a second to dry. Alright, so I'm going to try some of this new UV resin stuff that I bought on Amazon recently. And it's pretty thin stuff. So I'm just going to do a little bit between the eyes here to try to get them to stay in place to start. And then go around the outside. Of the popper lip. Do a thin coating over the eyes. Spread it all the way around, all the way back over the eyes. This thin stuff isn't bad. I mean, it actually, it kind of can make a candy coating over this, it seems. It's not going to be super, super thick, so it won't add a whole lot of weight. Just get it worked into the tubing. Try to turn it as I go. Try to keep it coated evenly. And hit it with the light to solidify it. Kind of hard to tell what I'm doing with this bright light. Looks like I need new batteries in my UV light. And now I'm going to get a coating on the inside. Just enough to fill in any crevices in the fibers, that braided stuff on the inside of the popping face, so it's a solid surface. Keep turning it so it doesn't all pool up in one place. I'll check this later. If it needs another coat around the eyes to hold the eyes on, I might do that. See, it's not entirely even. Might have to work it with my fingers next time to make that popping face a little more even, but this is going to make a loud noise. I mean, this is going to work. And there we go. That's the Corsair tubing popper. Such as it is right now. That's sort of the prototype version, and there's all sorts of things that I could do to change this up a bit. Want to play with it a bit. The first one actually had a rattle inside the body there, so that's a possibility too, as long as you have a big enough hook. And just one more step, a little trip to the nail cave, my wife's UV nail curing station or whatever. So I'm leaving it in there for 90 seconds on both sides, just so it doesn't stay sticky. Try to solidify it as best I can. These things are actually really cool. They will work well. Hopefully this doesn't come out sticky.